You know what's going to happen, though? You know what this is going to lead to? The dreaded players-only team meeting.
Oh, gosh.
Like, it has to. This is like a guarantee, right?
There is no more guarantee that your season's cooked than the players-only meeting. I mean, you're cooked. It's happening. It's over. All right, we're back. Fitz and Whit podcast, episode 2. Ready to get into it. We had a great week last week, Ryan. Going to New York City. Come on, baby. That was fun.
Yeah, that's one of our favorite weeks for sure, and we got to do it twice this year. I want to talk about a few things before we move on to what happened on Sunday and what we're going to do this next week. So Andrew Whitworth isn't a very big public transportation guy, I learned. Last year when we were in Boston, first time he's ever been on the subway, took the T, and then this week we went to Game 5 of the Yankees, and that was the first time you had been on the New York subway. Is that true, Mr. Whitworth?
That is true. First time on the subway. I don't fit in a lot of public transportation, Rhino, but, we are where we are.
Yeah, so we're on the subway. Whit decides to wear his LA Dodgers hat. Everybody else is wearing Yankees gear, of course. I'm the one navigating, and so I'm acting like I know what I'm doing. I'm going down the steps. We're standing there on the platform ready to get on one of the trains, and all the Yankees fans are across the platform on the other side, which means I think we're going
the wrong way.
Yeah. So we ran up, came back down, made it to the game. A couple things I want to talk to you about the game. Number one, first of all, the atmosphere was electric in the first 3 innings. Would you agree?
I would agree because I'm not a huge baseball guy. I mean, I've gone to some baseball playoff games. When I was in Cincinnati, I went to a couple games here or there with the Reds, but not a huge baseball, going to games guy. That was awesome. I mean, playoff, World Series energy, that was insane. That place was going nuts, and we had a good time.
And I swear to you guys, I took one video of one pitch. I got my phone out.
He's not lying about this.
I swear to you. Aaron Judge had been in a slump. I get my camera out. The first pitch, he hits a home run. So I have that all on video, and it was pretty awesome. But the reason you like the game, because you're a little more hoity-toity, maybe I would say,
talk to me,
is they came into our little area. Let's call it a suite. We're not bragging, but we had nice seats. And there were 2 ladies that were serving caviar during the game. I've never had caviar.
It's a better way.
I've never had it.
I couldn't have thought a better way to enjoy a baseball game. I mean, if that's not Big Whit's version of attending a playoff game, I mean, baseball, a suite, and some caviar. I mean, talk to me. Let's go.
But was it good caviar? Is it bad? Is there bad caviar? I've never really had it, so I didn't know what to. And then she forced me to take it in a weird way.
No. Hold on. You've never had it, okay? But you had the choice whether she would prepare for you properly, and in the way that traditionally caviar is served with all the good fixings on it,
Okay.
And you chose to take a bump of caviar because she actually offered it. I will admit, she said, "Would you rather just take a bump of caviar?" And you did it. You took a bump of caviar. I'm proud of you.
Well, anytime anybody wants me to lick
was
something.
Was that your first bump?
It was my first bump, yes, of anything, Andrew. But anytime anybody tells me I can lick food off of my body, then I'm in. And so it was just right here on the thumb, and I gave it a little lick. Anyway, it was weird. Then they came around with oysters, the lobster rolls, which kept feeding.
No, hold on. Let's go back. The lobster rolls, you had 10 cut up lobster rolls.
Okay, but they were cut up in thirds.
I was very impressed.
So I probably had 3 1/3 lobster rolls for sure.
You went heavy on the lobster roll.
Well, anyway, so the game was great. It was funny that maybe the best atmosphere I've ever been around for the first 3 innings took a turn for the worst after all the years. Great. You've got your Dodgers hat on the whole time. We get back on the subway to go back home. You're wearing your LA hat. We've got a great photo of you with all the Yankees fans just kind of looking at you pissed and, not happy about the way the game went. But I will say this, and what I love about you, if I ever get lost in a crowd, because it was you and Carissa that were walking around and me, and I got lost once, you're very easy to find. Very easy to find.
I stick out. I definitely stick out. My favorite was the New York group of guys that walked up to us by the train when we were getting on it. And they're all clearly sports guys. And they look at me, and one guy's like, That's Whitworth. And the other guy goes, I ain't talking to him. And they literally they saw the Dodgers hat, and it's like I could hear their conversation. They're like, no chance. He's got a Dodgers hat on. I ain't talking to him. And they just walked off. And I was like, that's great. That's fantastic. I appreciate that. Real fans. You're wearing a Dodgers hat. We're not speaking to you. But that was awesome, man. I enjoyed the train. I enjoyed the caviar, playoff baseball. The Dodgers won. So, of course, being a guy that lives in L.A., winners win. That's what we do. So it was a great night for sure, but it didn't end there, because on our way back, after the caviar, the beers, the food, and the 10 lobster rolls,
and the rally shot they brought around.
Don't forget the rally shot that didn't work because the Dodgers won.
Yeah,
you stopped to get a little street meat. How was it? Talk to me about it.
So what I didn't realize, you didn't know what street meat was. We stopped.
I've never
at
had
the
street meat.
Halal cart and had some lamb. It's phenomenal. Every time I go to New York City, I've got to get it, especially if it's after midnight. That's when it's served best. But check the box on that one. Was good. Wake up the next morning. We had a little production meeting. We did a walk with Frank, which was wonderful, around Central Park. And then my favorite part of Thursday, the game. First half of the game was one of our worst ever. It was on pace. Aaron was playing awful. They were chanting to sell the team for Woody Johnson. Then Aaron comes out in the second half, plays great, comes on the desk, but he comes on the desk right after we all change into our Halloween outfits. And he just looked at us like, what the hell are you guys doing? But yours, I got to admit, yours was the best outfit. I loved it.
I don't know. You pulled that off pretty good. You were a good Aaron Jones. But my favorite part is when we were asking him questions, the still shots of him looking straight ahead so that he didn't have to look at any of us while we were asking him the question, because I don't know how you kept a straight face. But we did a good job, because we were kind of angry at halftime, to say the least. We were not happy with the football game. Neither were the fans. A little of a humble moment for us, because we kind of felt like the Jets were playing terrible. And then they turn it around, and he comes on the desk, and, we gave him his flowers. They definitely did that. They turned it around, and he owned it too. He said he played really bad in the first half, and he had to do something better for them to have a chance to win, and they did.
Yeah. And so your costume, for those that didn't see it, and we'll, I'm sure, throw it up during this episode, we all dressed as players walking into the stadium in some of their famous outfits. And so I was Aaron Jones with a sombrero, fake Louis vest, and you were Joe Burrow with hair, which was phenomenal. You had a little knit mesh. I think that's going to be something that stays in your repertoire, maybe.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about bringing that in. I really felt the sleeveless mesh was, it was quality look.
Yeah, you were feeling yourself a little bit. But my favorite part, so after the games, we will get together and kind of decompress. The hotel bar was closed, and so we got some tequila, some wine, some pizza, and we sat in the hotel lobby on the carpet at the Essex house and just kind of decompressed. And you continued to wear the wig and just kept stroking your hair. Just when was the last time you actually had hair?
Well, I was going to say, give me my moment. I had hair on my head. I was going to leave it on there, and I wanted to get just a couple feels, because I probably was 19 or 20 years old when I had consistent hair prior to this. I've been shaving my head maybe since I was 16 or 17. I grew it out once in college, but that was about it. And so, man, I just, I enjoyed having a flow, right? I just wanted to feel the flow and just kind of enjoy it. And you guys kind of, y'all were picking on me about playing with my hair, but I enjoyed it. It felt good.
Well, so I know you're buddies with Burrow, or at least I know that you know him a lot better than I do. They blow out the Raiders today. He throws for 5 TDs. This guy, I think he's a serial killer. I really do. It was a joyless victory for him. He sat on the bench at the end.
That sideline shot on the bench was tough.
I don't know. His expectations of himself and his team are so high, they're not allowed to have any joy. Am I right in saying that he's a serial killer?
Well, I think even your boy Gesicki said after the game that he is number one as far as locked in, his determination factor and how focused and locked in he gets to being successful and chasing greatness. He's just never been around anybody like it. And it is rare. Having spent some time with him when he got injured, when he tore his ACL was the same season that I tore my PCL and MCL. So we rehabbed both with Dr. Elatrosh, who we also saw at the Yankees World Series game, and came up and said hello to us. But Neil did Joe Burrow's surgery. So he, Joe and I linked up then. That's when we first actually ever got to be around each other. And so he came over and watched a couple NFL Sundays with me at the house. We watched games and would kind of get a chance to get to know each other and fellowship a little bit about playing at LSU and things. And that's when I really got to know this guy and realized this dude is, his mentality and how he thinks about things is rare, and almost his will to be able to make what he wants happen. And he just has a focus level that I think is infectious. And it almost, instead of like, I think sometimes we talk about guys who inspire people, like through the dude they are or through their affection or whatever to people, they inspire people to play better. He almost does it with his intensity and the focus he has. That's how he gets people around him to play better, because they feel if this dude's this locked in, and it means this much to him, I've got to get locked in, and it's got to mean that much to me. And I think it kind of carries across the building, his belief in what's possible. You saw today after the game, I think he said, I consider it a failure every time we have the ball and we don't score a touchdown. I will be upset.
But he believes that too. Like
100%. He's not joking.
Yeah, you could have another quarterback say that, and it's kind of empty words. Like, you see it in his eyes. He believes that. He's an absolute killer. And he is so intimidating to me. Like, I'd love to go, shake his hand. I probably did at some point last year, but I don't know what to say to him. I don't want him to snap at me. I don't want to do anything wrong.
He's intense, Fitz. I will say this. If he doesn't know you well, sometimes that first handshake is intense. He is, especially depending on the time. Like, he's definitely one of those guys I put in the category of post-game you want to say hello to. You don't want to talk to him like leading up to the game or even before the game.
But he didn't want to talk to Zach Taylor post-game, or even, he
doesn't want to talk to anybody. Zach Taylor has told me before, like, even like a team meeting, right? When you come in on Wednesday and you're about to have a meeting, like, hey, sometimes I have to be careful with like not a lot of banter and jokes or like anything silly. Like if it's game week and it's a Wednesday, sometimes you as a head coach, you want to come in there and kind of warm the guys up a little bit. He's like, I walk in sometimes and I make eye contact with Joe and I'm like, nope, it's not that day. Like today, let's just get straight to the plan. We're going straight to the game plan today. That's what we're doing, because that's who he is.
He scares the hell out of me.
Well, listen, talking about scaring the hell out of people, listen, Joe Burrow's a good one, but the other guy that's your boy is a good one too. How about the Bills, man, going to 7-2? Fitz, this was supposed to be like, they're going to take a step back. Stefon Diggs is gone. We've lost some veteran leadership on the defense. A lot of questions. But they haven't taken a step back, Fitz. They even cut back on their captains this year. They had 8 captains. Now they only have 2. I mean, these guys went backwards in the captain department and kind of reset themselves, if you will, as far as who's the leaders are and how they're going to go forward. What do you think's happened in Buffalo?
Well, they went to 2 captains because they got rid of all the guys. Gabe Davis, gone. Stefon Diggs, gone. Jordan Poyer, who they played today and helped him out a little bit, gone. Micah Hyde, gone. I mean, it's unbelievable what they've done. And I think going into this year, it was everybody buying into the everybody eats. I don't know that they were, but they've been so fantastic. Obviously, it starts with Josh Allen. And he's an unbelievable talent. He's a top 3 quarterback. He's the thing that makes this go. And his decision-making this year has been flawless. Even the interception they threw versus Miami today, it bounces off Keon Coleman's chest. But it's an amazing thing when you have team chemistry and when you're playing for each other, how much you can accomplish. I mean, these guys last year, remember, they had to fight and scratch and claw their ways into the playoffs last year. And we thought they'd be taking 1 or 2 steps back this year. Even if you go back when they lost to Baltimore and they lost to the Texans, it was everybody kind of had that feeling of, okay, maybe this isn't the year. They went out and they made the trade for Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper doesn't even play today. They still look good on offense. They're a tough team. Now they've got a few games coming up that I think is really going to show us who they are.
Yeah, who they are. My question would be, Ryan, like what you see with them, right? Okay, they've been successful up to this point. They've had some great offensive showings, but the one thing that's been a little different, I think, for them, there's obviously been an emphasis that we're going to run the football more. They're running the football at a clip they haven't really, as far as their rush percentage, done really ever since Josh was there. I think it's been almost 20 years since they've been running at this percentage. But also, do you think it's Stefon Diggs being gone, or do you think it's just kind of a nature of the skill positions, Josh kind of knows he's got a lot of different guys, not really one dominant guy that you see 8 different guys with touchdowns, like, multiple touchdowns. And you see kind of the ball's getting spread around a ton. It's not like they're just leaning on one guy all the time. What is the reasoning for that?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. So Stefon Diggs really helped Josh in his career. When they brought Stefon Diggs, it was a true number one. They grew together. Stefon showed him the way. And it was amazing how he changed the trajectory of Josh's career. But I think it got to the point with Josh, and it's hard. When you have a bona fide number one receiver that demands the ball, and rightfully so because he's going to make a lot of plays for you, when they let Diggs go, I think that it was freeing for Josh. It was a little bit freeing. He no longer had his dominant number one guy, but he also didn't have that feeling on 3rd and 6 if it was one-on-one on both sides to think that he had to throw it to one guy. Now he's throwing it to the open guy. He's making those decisions as he sees things. And I think as a quarterback, that frees you up a little bit. And it's really helped him this year with some of his decision-making. And, those guys, the thing that scares me about the Bills is they beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and they beat up on them good. But if a team comes in and starts running the ball on them and taking a lead, that's when it scares me. And I was actually a little bit worried about the Miami game today because it was a must-win for Miami. And Tua played great. They ran the ball well. But the Bills, and we had the big Jordan Poyer penalty at the end, but the Bills have Josh Allen. And I think that's what we're going to end up saying in a lot of these close games is, Josh in the playoffs has been tremendous. And, this is feeling like this might be their year with the way that they're playing, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I love it. One of my favorite ones, Ryan, I got to say real quick before we get off Buffalo, they're the team in the league that's thrown the most passes with more than 5 offensive linemen on the field. And I thought I saw that stat last week, and I just was so excited, Ryan. I love 6 O-linemen on the field. Are you kidding me? I mean, how many times I went in there to Sean McVay's office and just begged for a heavy tight end, and he would look at me and go, "You clearly don't know me. Like, you just don't get me, Whit. You don't get me. I'm never putting a heavy tight end in the game." And you know what? It's worked out all right for him so far. But I love 6 O-linemen on the field, baby. Big Dave Edwards coming in last year as the heavy tight end. Now playing some left guard for him. I love it, man.
Like
Give
putting
the O-line guys a chance.
The game we just watched almost put me to sleep. This conversation's putting me to sleep.
We're eligible, baby.
This was the best part for me of the Indy Minnesota game. So Collinsworth starts talking about Anthony Richardson, talking about him getting tired. They show him tapping out of the last game, Joe Flacco coming in. And then they show Anthony Richardson on the sideline, and he just gives the biggest
bad timing. It's bad timing.
He kind of starts eating his yawn on the sideline. And I remember we had this last year with Flacco as well, who's, obviously an old man now, when he was in Cleveland and they were beating up on the Jets. I think it was the game they clinched the playoffs Thursday night last year at the end of the year. But I'm not a night game guy. I always had trouble staying awake. I mean, I was the guy that was drinking coffee before the game and drinking coffee at halftime. I know, because your beard was gray before you were done playing. I know you had to have trouble in some of those games.
I mean, I was 40, Fitz. I mean, I was hurting. Listen, I was well known in my career for running out to the hashes on every single offensive drive. What people don't understand is I was so old, it's the only way I could get my heart rate back up, okay? My blood pressure was getting low. I was ready for nap time half the time, okay? So when these late games go off, in my house with these kids and these dogs, it's 9 o'clock, 9:30 Pacific time. I'm going to bed. So when you're playing on the East Coast or somewhere else in a night game, I mean, I was exhausted. So, yeah, I mean, you have to do everything possible to get your energy up because you get over there, you sweat a little bit. You come off the field, and I don't think sometimes people understand. Sometimes when some of those drives go, you're sitting on the bench doing nothing.
Especially if it's a cold game. If it's a cold game and you're on the heated seats and you're just warm and cozy over there. Yeah.
My butt's warm, my thighs, my quads, everything. I'm heated up. I feel like I just want to curl up in a ball and take a nap. You got to get up and jump around a little bit, man. Sometimes that's why you see guys, they pour some cold water on themselves. They take the smelling salt. You got to get that energy up. Avoid nap time. But, man, AR, bad timing for the yawn. It was just bad
tough.
timing.
It was tough. But I, my strategy for avoiding those games, primetime never wanted to see me anyway. So I maybe got a Thursday night game every now and again. But Al Michaels, in all the years that he called games, not once.
He's called them for everybody, baby.
Did he ever call one of my games?
No Fitzmagic?
He's got
no Fitzmagic games?
Allergic to primetime.
Yeah, Ron, and speaking of Anthony Richardson, I know this week I saw, man, you tweeted about the decision to bench him for Flacco, and you kind of felt like it was the right decision. What were your thoughts on that?
I got a lot to say about this because this was kind of my life, especially the back half of my career. I mean, Joe Flacco made the decision to go to Indianapolis probably for two reasons. One, because he knew he had a chance to play at some point. And two, because they're actually a pretty good football team. And, Anthony Richardson, he's there to help him out. Joe's going to help Anthony in every way that he can. But the problem is if you have a young guy that's not playing well, he wasn't going up. He was going down. He was playing worse and worse as the weeks went on. That affects your whole football team. And it doesn't just affect you from week to week. That affects the development of all your skill guys. That affects the confidence of your offensive linemen, and it affects the confidence of your team. So this was the right move. And I don't like the guys that are saying that Anthony Richardson is now done. They've moved on. He needs to take a step back, and he can actually get better from sitting because there's a lot of things with his fundamentals that he has to work on. So being able to do that in practice now and to be able to really hone in and focus on those things rather than putting so much time and effort into specific play calls and to specific situations, really focusing on the fundamentals is going to help him because there's some issues there that he's got to get better with. And then Joe Flacco is a pro's pro. And what I mean by that is, yes, he's going to go out there and try to win every football game. There's no doubt about that.
No doubt.
But Joe is also, he knows the assignment. He's also going to help Anthony Richardson. He's going to help him in practice. He's going to help him in meetings. And even when Joe is playing football, he's going to come over to the bench. He's going to hold the tablet. He's going to talk to Anthony Richardson about what's going on. He knows his assignment. He knows he's there now because he's got to win games, but he also knows and took the assignment because he has to develop this young kid who hasn't played a lot of football. He didn't play a lot in college. And so just throwing him out there and watching him get worse and worse every week, that's not the solution. That's not experience. Take a back seat, watch Joe do it, watch how Joe prepares, work on your fundamentals in practice, and then there will be another time and place where we're going to get him in there and we're going to see how he can do. But he was getting worse, he was regressing, and there's no reason that Steichen should be criticized for taking a step back and putting the kid on the bench because he's going to do everything he can now to develop him into a better player.
All right, well, here's my question for you now. All right, what did you see? Did you see Adam Schefter's tweet about from 2000 to 2022? Yeah, Schefty's tweet from 2000 to 2022, 66 quarterbacks taken in the first round. 25 of them were benched at some point. Only one guy ever came back and made a Pro Bowl or went to playoffs with their team. It's Mitch Trubisky. Only one.
Mitch Trubisky.
So when you get benched, Mitch Trubisky's the only one, Fitz. So yeah, it's tough. I don't know how I feel about it.
So my question is, is it the realization that he was overdrafted then? Are we realizing that we took a chance?
Well,
on him?
here's my thing with them, right? I think the one criticism I would say is I agree with you, actually. I think Flacco's the right move for the team and all those things. I think it's tough when these guys, coaches, GMs, all these things, I just think they talk too much. And it's like you can believe in a guy and you can have full confidence that my quarterback that we draft, we are as an organization, we're drafting this guy, we're going to develop him. We believe he's the future of our franchise. No question. I'm with you. You don't have to say things like he's going to have a long time to get better because we're going to make sure that he gets all his reps on the field, no matter what this guy's playing. This isn't a thing where we're going to let him sit on the bench. Like, we're going to get him reps, and through reps, he's going to learn because he hasn't played much football. Like, to me, you put yourself in these situations where now everybody's going to criticize you and say, wait, let's look back. When you drafted this guy, you knew he hadn't played a lot of football, and your whole deal was no matter what, we're going to leave him in the game, and he's going to develop through reps. And I think that through this process, I may be leaning towards Sherm's side, which I hate to say, because Richard Sherman says it all the time. He thinks it's more of a science thing where it's just these quarterbacks should sit, they should watch, and they'll eventually be better just because of that. And I think we have some examples of that where we've seen guys that sit at first and they come in and play well. So I don't know. I'm starting to lean to it like you either have it to start off the jump or maybe you just don't have it.
And I think, too, if you're Shane Steichen and you're looking at the AFC South and you watch the Houston Texans play in our game on Thursday night, they're certainly not unbeatable, right? I mean, obviously they lost to the Jets, but they have some major issues on offense right now. Their interior line is not very good. Stefon Diggs is out. They're desperate for Nico Collins to come back, but the Houston Texans have major issues right now, and they are no longer looking like this top 3 team in the AFC because of the issues they've encountered on offense.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, to me, it's Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, and I'm interested to see how Baltimore, Buffalo pan out as the year goes on.
All right, you know what time it is, Whit. It's hot and bothered time. There are so many things that happen on Sunday that get us angry, that get us perturbed, and this Sunday was no different than any other. Do you have any things that you're hot and bothered about, Andrew?
Usually it's just if my order to the house is late, because I usually, I like to get my barbecue on Sundays, Fitz. And if my barbecue's late from when the games start, I get a little hot and bothered and I start off in a bad mood. But I would tell you one of them for me, and this is crazy because obviously I was a Los Angeles Ram and I'm a Rams fan. But while I'm watching the game, the Rams in Seattle, Ryan Grubb, wow, this offensive line is struggling. The poor right guard, I don't know if he's seen Brandon Fish yet, but literally he hadn't touched him in the whole game. So our answer is the last few drives of the game, let's get an empty. Let's go freaking 5-on-5. Let's see if we can block these guys. And he's just getting smoked.
Yeah.
And just no help, no assistance to the group. I mean, I can remember, when I first met Sean McVay, one of the things I was the most impressed with is that he told me when he puts together an offensive plan for a game and for a team, for a season, number one is the quarterback. But the second group that matters the most to him for every play call is the offensive line, because that dictates what the play call could even be. And that helps the quarterback. And so those things have to be in line. And so watching that, man, I'm sitting there going dude, we got to come up with something. Outside of the middle screen, which they've been fantastic at,
You
right?
love that middle screen.
I don't know what the shelf life is of the middle screen.
Keeps working.
But just run the middle alley screen and let's roll, because Geno Smith is playing some really good quarterback. He really has this season. And if he didn't have Geno Smith and those weapons, I mean, I don't really know, because outside of launching the ball down the field, what Geno's done, I don't know what their success level is really.
I think the problem, and we've talked about this a little bit with Ryan Grubb, he comes from University of Washington. His background is completely college, is getting used to the NFL game. And I think there are a few things that have trickled up to the NFL. The RPOs for sure, the spread offense for sure, but he's yet to find an identity for this offense, which to me, it's really hard to see when you have Kenneth Walker in the backfield that they're not trying to get him the ball 25 times a game. That to me has been very difficult when I watch their offense. That being said, Geno took some sacks today, made some mistakes, had some interceptions. But if you actually sat and watched that game, the amount of throws that he made that were absolute dimes where he was just bailing them out. I think the problem is Ryan Grubb came in, he looked at the roster, he said, what do we have? Okay, we've got 3 unbelievable receivers. We've got a quarterback. We're going to throw the ball all over the yard. We've got to adjust a little bit because it does put a lot of stress on those offensive linemen. It puts a lot of stress on Geno. And, hopefully at some point there's some sort of wake-up call. Luckily, that division, they've all kind of been struggling or all hovering around 500. So I understand why you were hot and bothered by that. That's fine. I got to tell you what I was hot and bothered by. And
yeah, I want to hear your hot and bothered.
So I'm in Arizona, right? And I'm watching the Cardinals game today. And the Bears have the ball. I think there's 9 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. Now, mind you, it's a retractable roof in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I've played there once or twice.
It starts raining and hailing during the
game. It doesn't matter. It's the roof's closed.
The roof is open, and it is
What?
raining and hailing on Caleb Williams as he's dropping back on third down. I mean, the roof is never open in Arizona. It was open. I think it was a 30% chance of rain, maybe. It came down on them during the middle of the game. They ended up closing the roof during it, but that had me hot and bothered with.
I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, Fitz. I don't get the roof being open with a chance of rain. But maybe, because Kyler Murray in that running game's been pretty good this year, make the young quarterback
Those
play
Cardinals
with the wet
are feisty.
football.
The Cardinals are feisty this year.
Make that young quarterback come in and handle the wet football. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they did it on purpose.
I like to put a strategy to everything. Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you what also got me hot and bothered. And this is one that's just been, I don't know, probably ever since I've ever watched football in general as an offensive lineman. Drop back passes where the freaking tight end is blocking the defensive ends. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It drives me crazy. Okay, listen, we all get paid to do a job. There's no doubt about that. Kyle Pitts is a freak of nature. He's a good-looking specimen for a football player. He can do a lot of things really well. Him going one-on-one with Carl Lawson in drop back, we're going to throw the ball. I'm not talking about a play action. I'm not talking about all the balls coming out. I'm talking about Kirk Cousins is taking his drop in the shotgun and sitting there reading out coverages, trying to get the ball out of his hand. It drives me crazy. We see it happen in almost every season. There's multiple clips of defensive ends getting these sack fumbles, just completely beating the tight end instantly in a pass protection. It drives me crazy. Let me do my job. Let that guy go out for a pass, okay? Let him go out for a pass. I'll handle the edge rusher. Please.
Yeah, that's tough. I didn't see the play. I'm assuming maybe it was like a full turn protection for all the linemen, and he just got stuck on him.
Looking to the right, and Kirk's working to the right, backside, your blind side. Kyle Pitts has got Carl Lawson. It's just went out. It wasn't
just hanging on for dear life. I love to get a good lookout call though when that would happen from my fellow tight ends.
Oh, it's a lookout. And then I saw another one later in the game. Also during the day, I can't even remember the game. The old running back, like the hand, where they just kind of like they go out for their slam. They're going to give a little chip lined up on the line. They're going to slam the guy and then go to the flat. And he just gave him the whiff hand and just went out to the flat. Hey, guy, do you know why you're chipping? Okay, Here it is. You are dead last in this progression. Okay, all we need you to do is make sure the defensive end doesn't take my head off so that I can get through my progression. So when we line you up to chip the defensive end, I don't need you to worry about how fast you get to the flat. I need you to hit the defensive end and then go to the flat. Complete whiff, sack, the whole deal. It drives me crazy, guys.
He's probably open in the flat, though.
Little details. Open. Oh, you know how it is. They're jumping over there with their hand in the air.
So speaking of running backs, this has me hot and bothered with Saquon Barkley. For a lot of teams, 3 years and $37.5 million was too expensive for Saquon Barkley to be on your football team. We all saw what he did today. He jumped over a dude going backwards, which is unbelievable.
The backwards jump over.
I've never seen it before. I got to imagine you've never seen that either.
It felt like a skateboarding trick. I don't know.
Take the quarterbacks out of it. I think he's been the best player in football this year. I really do. And I don't know where the Eagles would be without him. And so this devaluation of the running back position, the fact that there are now receivers that can make what he's going to make in 3 years and the receivers make it in 1 year, essentially, I just don't understand it. When you're measuring the importance of guys on the Philadelphia Eagles right now, Jalen Hurts is probably one, and Saquon Barkley is a very close two.
Yeah, he's 1B for sure. Fitz, I said this the other night on Thursday night, and to your point, you look at it, 4 of the most productive players this season offensively, period. I forget the positions, period. 4 of the most productive players in the league this year. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs is one of them, right? The guy we watched the other night, Joe Mixon, right? Another one of them. You talk about running backs at the running back position. Guys who are going over 100 yards, right? There's 3 of them, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Joe Mixon, that have averaged over 100 yards in every game they've played. All 3 of them shipped off to a different team this offseason. Josh Jacobs shipped off to a different team in Green Bay. He's balling in Green Bay. Like 4 running backs who are 4 of the highest producing at, like, period. I don't care what position. Guys we have in the league, all of them sent off to a different team this offseason. Like, to me, it's crazy. We've let it go way too far. Like, I get it. There's some systems where, you know what, you can plug good running backs in there and they're going to have success. But some of these elite guys are just elite. And we need to just know that that's who they are. I mean, you talk about Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati's sitting with the record they have if Joe Mixon is starting there from week 1, because they needed him when T. Higgins was out. They needed him when they've missed people offensively. They needed some offensive production. Now, they never really went to a system that's really built for him under center and running a lot of that stuff. But the bottom line is, these good ones, like, you need them more than you think you do. And there's a lot of teams that have found that out.
Yeah, and even though Mason's done a great job for the 49ers, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, it's been proven again with him and his absence this year and how important he is to that football team. All right, Whit, time to pull back the old towel, you know what I mean. You don't know what awkward. I mean. Why don't we try to say maybe pull back the curtain? Yeah, we'll pull back the curtain or the towel, the proverbial towel in the locker room. Let's talk about touchdown celebrations. My favorite today, and we saw it twice. You know where I'm going with this?
How do you're bringing this up because I've scored a touchdown, or what do you?
No, I'm talking about my favorite celebration today.
No? Oh, okay.
It was the one that got
Actually,
taken.
I know exactly where you're going with it.
Well, okay, what was it then?
It was the headstand. I know what you're going with.
Yes. So Drake London did it earlier. Amon-Ra does it later. They're both teammates at USC. I don't know if they talked about it together or not.
I'm going to guarantee they did. They had to.
Okay, they had to. But I don't, the touchdown celebration thing for me as a player, I always try to make it very spontaneous. I want it to be spur of the moment. I wanted my teammates to be involved, and it usually just involved crazy eyes and a beard shake or a ball throw. But I wasn't a fan of the group celebration. I love the grid sicky. You know, Mike got to do that twice today in the Cincinnati game, which was awesome. But did you ever do any like O-lineman? I can't imagine you did O-lineman plan celebration.
Fitz, have you met me?
Listen. I mean, we both played with Ocho Cinco. Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, I got to watch him. So here's what happened to me. I got ruined as a young age. This is how you get influenced. I watched Chad Johnson hold celebrations, and there's actually an NFL Films clip of me running to celebrate with him, and he puts his hand up like, leave me alone and let me dance. And ever since that moment, I didn't do it. But then that led to later in my career, Sean McVay would point at me on tape. And because we would score, Fitz, let's say we're at the 20 and we throw a touchdown pass, I would walk straight to my bench spot. Like, I wouldn't, no celebrations, no high fives.
Yeah, you're like Joe Burrow. You're like Joe Burrow.
Straight to my seat. Give me my Gatorade. Give me one of those little sugar chews that kind of taste like gummy bears, and leave me alone. Like, I just want to sit here. I want to stop breathing so heavy, and I want to be left alone. And when y'all come over on the sideline, I'll hold my hand up like this and give everybody like one of those little lame, like, yeah, cool, man, good job. Yeah. But leave me alone. I'm walking straight to the bench. If we're on that side of the 50, I'm going straight to my bench, not celebrating.
Well, so I had linemen when we had those deep touchdowns like that would turn around and give the quarterback a hug. So you're not showing Stafford any love.
No. I would give a little quarterback hug, but usually only because they were on my route to the bench. If they were kind of on the way, that would be like my way to get there. Like, oh, Staff's on the way. Perfect. Give him a hug. Yeah. Head to the bench, right? Okay. That's it.
Did you see Dak Prescott today? Where they got him on camera, and he's just on the sideline having a casual conversation towards the end of the game where he just mouthed. Now, I don't know. I'm not a great lip reader, but I think he said, "We fucking suck." I think there's an easy way out of that one. I'm glad that he said we. There's an easy way out of that one, because I'm going to bring this up again. When we had them in our game, I was trying to say that about them, and nobody else on the desk thought that they were.
I didn't support you. I did not support you there.
It's going to be a tough year for Dallas. It's going to be a long year, man. It doesn't matter that they have Dak and CD. You know, they finally, like, Jake Ferguson was a bigger part of it today, but they kind of suck right now, Whit.
They do. I know it hurts. Honestly, I got to go to the Nobu Malibu party this year, and Fitz, I just love my sushi, and I didn't want to say they were going to make the playoffs that early in the season. Now I'm on your team, though. I'm willing to say it. I'll give up the sushi. You know what? Cowboys are not real good, and they're going to need some help quickly. But listen, it's all there. The reasons, right? I mean, you can't keep having the attrition they've had from talent. And then saying like Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb are going to make up for it and Micah Parsons. Like you think you're going to play a 3-man game, you got no chance. You're playing with 2 rookies on the offensive line, which just means it's not how they play. Like they both played solid at times. Left tackle struggle, but you're going to just make rookie mistakes. And that takes away from, let's talk about who used to be there. Used to be some of the best centers in the league that play there with Travis Frederick and other guys. And Tyron Smith's one of the best left tackles that's played over the last decade and a half. So the reality is everything keeps coming backwards, and you're asking all those guys who are your elite guys to do even more. And it's just not a recipe for winning in that division.
You know what's going to happen, though? You know what this is going to lead to? The dreaded players-only team meeting.
Oh, gosh.
Like it has to. This is like a guarantee, right?
There is no more guarantee that your season's cooked than the players-only meeting. I mean, you're cooked.
Oh,
it's happening.
It's
over.
When I was approached about a few of the, they come up, hey, I think we should have a players only meeting. I don't. What do you want to say? Say it to me right now. I'll say it to everybody else. Why are we having a players only meeting? And then I think the point of the players only meeting is so people can leak out who talked and what they said during the meeting. I think that's the only point of it. I haven't really been a part of many of them that led to anything other than more finger pointing and people getting fired at the end of the year.
No doubt. Fitz, listen, Dallas' situation's bad, but there's one that's maybe even worse just based off of how they started. I mean, I don't know if I started the season and thought the Saints were going to be a great football team, but after the first 2 games, I was on the bandwagon. I'm like, whoa, here we go. This is it. This is about to be – they got this. They've lost 7 in a row. Now, not only have they lost 7 in a row, they got former players on social media going crazy with comments. I mean, Michael Thomas calling out the quarterback.
What are we doing?
I don't know what's happening. I don't even know the motive. I mean, do you understand? What are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish?
That's my biggest question is, Michael Thomas, what's the motive of trying to drag Derek Carr through the mud? I think there were a lot of emotions going on as he was watching that game because Chris Olave goes down again. And that was it looked like another concussion, another serious head injury. And so I know that there were emotions probably when he was watching him. I looked at the play. He's throwing an in-cut versus single high. I don't think there was any malintent on Derek Carr's part. I mean, Derek Carr was obviously a little kind of a defensive and emotional after hearing about that at the end of the game, but I don't know what his motives are other than he didn't like Derek. He still doesn't like Derek, and he's dragging him through the mud, but he's probably also friends with Olave. So I'm curious as to what those other receivers think about it, what those other receivers think about Carr. But I go back to Tony Gonzalez telling me that the Saints were going to win the NFC.
He did.
After the second game. He called it. They're going to win the whole thing.
He called it. He did. He called it. But hey, Fitz, have you lost 7 in a row?
I have twice, and you were part of one of them, buddy.
Come on, baby.
Back in 2008, Carson Palmer gets hurt. He played in 4 games. Yeah, he played in 4 games. I then got some starts in Cincy. We got to 0-8, right? Yeah, we got to 0-8 that year. That was also the year, though. We finished 4-3-1. The one was Donovan McNabb in the Eagles. He didn't know you could tie a football game. Yes, I was the other quarterback in that game. But this is – so I'd like this topic because, yes, the Saints, the season is over. It's hopeless. And they have an aging roster. They've got a bunch of older guys. But what happened to the Cincinnati team in 2009? I ended up leaving. Maybe that was why you guys got better. But what happened in 2009?
We got a lot better. But in 2009, we won the division, baby. We even swept the division in the AFC North, 6-0 in the AFC North.
Yeah, so that's my whole thing to try to impress on these guys is that yes, season over, whatever. But as a coach, and maybe Dennis Allen isn't going to be there much longer, but 4-3-1 that year when we were awful at the beginning of the year led to you guys gaining confidence, getting on a roll, and making the playoffs the next year. I have been 0-7 to start a season as well. The tank for 2 a year in Miami. And again, that year we finished 5-4 at the end of the year, and they rolled it into
Frank's not happy with you about that.
Well, no, Frank, our walk with Frank, he's a big Miami fan.
He's not happy about how many games you won.
He wanted Joe Burrow, so he wanted us to lose. But
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. It's amazing. Like those seasons, sometimes that back half of the year. It's why I always say, like, you got to lock into an NFL season, because the teams that have been bad to start it, just watch out. They're going to start winning games that you don't think they should win when we get to this last part of the year, those last 4 or 5 weeks, because they're in a position now where they see the head coach might lose his job. The coordinators might lose their jobs. Guess what that means? They're thinking, I might lose my job too. So it starts meaning more. And then guys start to rally around and standards start getting set, because now the standard just is, man, if you don't want to lose your job, you better start playing like it. And so all of a sudden you kind of build this little culture at the last part of the season where you kind of are fighting for people. And if you got the right people in your locker room, that carries over. And I look at that season, it carried over. I think of a Chris Crocker. I think of some of those guys we had that kind of came in and said, no, the standards got to change if we want to be who we want to be next year. And so that changed things. Then I think of 2010, the Batman and Robin show, Chad Johnson and Terrell Owens get together with Carson Palmer. And in 2010, we had just won the division in 2009. We come into 2010, they're there. We're supposed to we're going to build off of that. And what do you know? We start 2-1 and we lose 10 in a row.
Oh my God.
It got bad. It got ugly. Carson Palmer goes on to not even be the quarterback for us in 2011. But what did it lead to? In 2011, we get Andy Dalton, AJ Green. We start to go on the streak, go to the playoffs 5 years in a row. So when you start to think about those things, those moments, if you got the right kind of people in your locker room, you can bond together and create, hey, through this adversity, let's create a new standard for who we are, and let's go forward in that way. Sometimes these things can turn out to be better in the long run that you've gone through them. You just need the right guys in your locker room.
Yeah, and to that point, I go back to 2019 when I was with the Miami Dolphins, and we got beat in week 2, 43-0 to the Patriots. And that was a lost season before it started. I was introducing myself to people in the huddle in the first week when we played Baltimore and got beat by 40-something points. But we lose 43-0 to New England in week 2. We go on the road to New England in Tom Brady's last regular season game at Gillette, and they need to win the game to secure home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And we score at the end, Mike Gridsicki, 27-24. We knock off the New England Patriots, who then to go on to lose in the first round, and the Kansas City Chiefs get the first round bye and win a Super Bowl. So it matters.
Let me ask you this. You win in that game like that, I know it matters, but was it awesome, like going across that field and being able to say, hey, Tom, like shake his hand and, hey.
I didn't, I don't really care about that kind of stuff, Whit. That's not a big deal for me. I don't hold grudges. Definitely don't hold grudges over anything like that.
Good game. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. But celebrating with those guys, the guys that were there week 2 and the guys that were still on the team in week 17, which there was still a lot of turnover that year, to have accomplished what we did with how bad we started was a pretty amazing feeling.
All right, Fitz, we're headed to Baltimore, where you and I had a pretty good time last year. We had Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson last year. Unfortunately, Joe got hurt, but you and I had a great time hanging out in the Inner Harbor. We tried to get on one of those little electric boats. Unfortunately, they close in October, so we're going to miss those again this year.
Oh, no.
Definitely one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, mine too. I wanted to get on a boat with you this year. I was just wondering.
We're looking forward to it.
Last year, it would have been tilted like this, and then this year, it'd probably be starting to get a little more even. Maybe by next year,
even the boat out.
Yes. Next year, it might be even. We'll see. You got to stop losing so much weight. But the aquarium, too. I think the National Aquarium is pretty awesome. I don't know if you've been, but lots of sharks. Great for the kids to go and check it out. But yeah, we'll be walking around the Inner Harbor again for sure. The other thing that gets me excited about Baltimore, right by the airport there's a Guinness brewery. I think it's called Guinness Open Gate Brewery, but I believe it was the first Guinness brewery factory here in the U.S. And so it tastes phenomenal. And I'm hoping you'll make a trip with me. Yeah,
we love some Guinness on the road, baby. I mean, you ain't got to ask me twice.
Do. But there's one other thing I have to get done, and it always makes me super nervous when I'm on the road. Sometimes when I'm in Arizona, I don't have the time to be able to sit down to get my hair cut. And with the haircut comes a beard trim and obviously the neck trim and all the other things. Ears, they start to do the eyebrows and the nose as you get older. But I always get nervous. I obviously you probably shave your own head, but it's like, do you have to shave your head or no?
Oh yeah.
Is there
I shave my head twice a week.
So there is hair there, but you have to shave it. Okay. That makes sense. Well, what about the beard? Do you trust anybody with that thing? Do you do it yourself? Because it looks damn good.
Here's the thing. I've got a couple people I trust, and there are only certain cities that I just know a barber there, and I'll go to a barbershop because I love a good barbershop. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's probably one of my favorite things is a good barbershop. But
I agree.
It's not like it's hard to find good barbershops. Like you don't know the best way to look them up, and I don't know what the best way to do that is, whether it's Instagram or social media or whatever, some social media platform, and you just don't trust everybody, right? Like sometimes I get a little nervous personally, Fitz, with like the person who's a little too confident, like the ones who just act like they've got it nailed and like you're kind of annoying them by even giving them a description. It doesn't usually pan out well. I like the kind of person who's kind of like, hey, I might mess it up, but give me a shot. Always turns out good. I like a little.
I've got different standards than you, I think. I'm new to the social media thing, so I haven't tried the Twitter or Instagram yet. So maybe I'll go that route.
Yeah, it's a good route for you.
I always like going Google Maps. And I start my barbershop search, right? So if I could find one that has an X or a Z in the name, then it goes to the top of the list. I don't care what the ratings are, but if it's like, Curtis Cuts with a Z, it's going to the top. I'm interested. Now, when I walk into a barbershop, I want all the barbers to have nice hair. If they have a beard, that's a bonus because they know what they're working with a little bit. I want it to smell. I just want it like just a small tint of like weed. I want a little smell to where these guys, they're taking their breaks and they're going outside to smoke and they're coming back in.
Yeah, you want to know they're living.
I want to know they're living a little bit.
Yeah, come on, you got to live a little bit, baby.
And then I also, for me, if the guy that's cutting my hair, if his first language is not English, that again, like just bumps him up a little bit. In my experiences and what I've had, they really will love their craft if that's it. And then ironically for me, like most of the time a black barber shop is better for me, for my hair, for my beard, than walking into just kind of a normal, Great Clips or whatever it is. Cause they just, again, familiar and know how to deal with this stuff. So those are the things I look
deal
for.
With there.
If they have cafe con leche, that's a big plus. If they serve whiskey, I like that, but sometimes it's a little too hipster for me. Okay. But there are a lot of things that go into it. Hopefully you can experience it with me this week because I've got to go get my hair cut on Friday. It's time. And I'll probably trim up the beard a little bit.
Well, here's the thing. For me, it's really whether they do, I want a straight razor shave. Like if I'm going into a barber shop, right? If I'm doing this, like I'm meeting somebody somewhere, they're coming to a locker room, like when I was playing, okay, sure, just buzz it up. I'll shave my own head. If I'm going into the barber shop, I want the shave. I want to get edged up. Like I want the hot towel, do the neckline. Oh,
what do you think? What do you think about the massage? Like that one. So it's either so you can get a massage or they have the little claw thing. They'll throw it on there and
no claw thing for me. I'm
no claw. Well, what do you do though? Because there's some places that just do it and it catches you off guard. Do you say, okay, that's good. That's it.
The claw feels like a lot. I'm going to stay away from devices. If somebody wants to kind of give me like a little, scalp massage or something, I'm okay with that. One lady kind of scared me one time, and I think it was in Dallas. She went straight for like the cheek massage, like right on the cheeks. Like you started massaging my face bones. And it was intense because it really wasn't announced. So it kind of caught me off surprise. It caught me by surprise.
But my favorite is when you're in a barbershop and it's dudes and you guys are just talking. You're talking shop, you're talking ball, and then the guy starts massaging your cheeks, and you're just And he just kind of, it's part of it, so he has to do it, but he hurries it because he feels awkward because you were just talking about like camping and starting fires. But that's my favorite part of being in a barbershop like that.
Well, I'm looking forward to us finding a good barbershop. But I don't know if it's going to be through social media or through Google Maps, but we'll find one.
Yeah.